It's the morning drive.
Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Drive. I'm your host, Brooks Fiesinger, brooksfiesinger.com and MillionaireWho.com, where we help you stabilize wealth, secure your future, and succeed in entrepreneurship and finance. All right, I've got a controversial thing to talk to you about for a few minutes here, and that is, I know a lot of you are going to be tuning out the second you hear this, but hear me out. The topic is, should you pay off your home mortgage? Right? So most people that I know who are very savvy financial individuals tell you not to pay off your home mortgage. They say, you know what? The interest rate's so low, you can deduct the interest. Why would you pay off your mortgage? And in theory, that sounds wonderful. And one of the biggest problems I think we run into in finance is we're so obsessed with theories and ideas, and we sit there and say, well, you know, this concept and this idea, and if I use this skill I learned, then I can beat everybody else and make all this money. And the problem is most of us think like that, and yet we don't actually manage to pull it off, right? So we don't, we have some crazy idea, but our crazy idea doesn't actually do anything for us, right? We don't actually create that perfect straddle. We don't actually short the perfect stock at the perfect time. In stocks, you might think you've got a great short opportunity, and instead you realize that the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And that kind of thing comes back and hits us over and over and over. And if you look around you at most of the millionaires and decamillionaires and heck, even people richer than that, most of them aren't trying these crazy concepts. Now, many of you are going to sit there and say, wait. The home mortgage situation is not a crazy concept. The home mortgage situation is pretty simple. With a home mortgage, you are simply getting a loan at a really low rate. Right now, a 30 year is like 3.5%, right? So you're paying 3.5% for your money, and you can easily get that money back in the stock market. And I know a few people, honestly, who play this very well. And they sit there and say, look, I've got $10 million, and instead of taking my $10 million and paying off my house, which costs $200,000, I'm going to take that $200,000 and invest it and use my dividends and returns from my investments to pay that mortgage bill. Okay, it's possible to make that work, but I still don't think it's worth it. And I'm going to explain two reasons why. The first reason is, for most of you, if you live in a $300,000 house, do you have $300,000 cash? Right? I bring this up because the mentality that we use of why the leverage makes sense, we don't actually do. We just do it in theory, right? So most people that I know, they sit there and say, okay, I have $50,000. Therefore, I'm going to go buy a $300,000, $400,000 house. Okay? Wait, what? Okay, I'm not telling you you can't do that, but think about this for a minute. So because interest rates are so low, you're going to buy a house worth a lot more than you could afford otherwise, and you're going to make payments in the future. That's how a mortgage works, right? The problem is we end up buying a lot more than we should be because the interest rates are so low that we can afford the payments. So most people that I know who get these mortgages and play these leverage games, they don't consider themselves a quote payment buyer, right? They're like, well, I would never buy a car based on the payment. And yet, oh my gosh, look what they just did. They bought a house completely based on the payment. They're like, oh, I can afford the $1,000 a month, so I'll buy this payment. I can afford $1,500 a month, I'll buy it. So the problem here is that it ends up sucking a lot of their cash flow out because they're making the payments, and they're not actually putting aside the money into the investments to create the leverage play, right? The reason why leverage works is you're taking money, in theory, I don't fully support leverage to the level a lot of people do, but you're taking money that instead of paying on a house, you're borrowing that money at low interest rate because it's asset backed, and you're investing that in other areas where you're confident that you're going to make a bigger spread than your interest rate. But then almost everyone who buys a house doesn't have enough money to play the spread. They don't have enough money to create the leverage, right? So, so many people sit here and they're like, yeah, go buy a 30-year mortgage because the money's cheap. But what they're really doing is paying $1,000 a month to a bank and getting nothing for it, right? And that's kind of one of the biggest issues that I see with people who have the mentality of playing the spread, leveraging, and choosing not to pay off their mortgage. Again, they're going to buy more than they can afford. They're going to create a cash flow problem, and they are not actually playing the spread like they're rationalizing to get that big loan. So again, if you're taking $300,000 cash and you're putting it into an investment that generates 2.8% return, and you can get 2.5% interest in your house, okay, right? You get some tax deductible benefits on that 2.5%, so your effective rate's 1.7%, and you're paying taxes on your 2.5% spread, your effective rate's 2.1. So, okay, great. So you're making 0.3%, 0.4%. Now, in theory, that works. But do make sure it's big enough to make it worth your while, right? I get when you get to 7, 8%, it likely is. But most of the people who are theoretically doing that, who do it because other people say, oh yeah, that's such a good idea, they don't have the $300,000. They don't have the money. So make sure if you're so smart that you're playing the spread, that you're also so smart that you have that money sitting there that you're investing and playing the spread. But even if you're doing that, one thing that I personally noted around a whole lot of millionaires, billionaires, decamillionaires, is that they don't have the home loans. Now, there's a few reasons for it. One reason is going to be, in the scheme of things, your home mortgage isn't that much money. Why deal with it? You get that. For many of you, though, your home mortgage is your biggest expense every month. Partially probably because you bought a bigger house than you should in a more expensive area than you should. But hey, that's life. The bigger issue to me, though, is the time frame that we tend to make these decisions. So we buy a house, and at the point that we buy a house, we love it. This house is our dream house. It's everything we ever wanted it to be. We think we're going to be happy there forever and life will be great. And so we spend more than we should, yes. But then we sit there and say, look, it's not going to be a big deal to pay on it for 30 years. Sure, it's 25% or 50% of my income, but it's going to make me so happy. Or we just do what a lot of people do with car loans. And this is a problem, right? No, it's not okay to get sucked into that payment buying cycle of car. Like, everybody has a payment. No, they don't. Everyone does the same thing with a mortgage that I know. Everyone's like, everybody's got a mortgage. No, they don't. You'd be surprised how many people do not have mortgages and pay cash for houses. It's actually a much larger percentage of people than I would ever guess. And I don't have a hard number for you right now. But my understanding is at the minimum, it's almost 20%. So if almost 20% of people are not paying mortgages, then why do you feel like you've got to be part of the 80% that is? Just because that's what the bankers tell you? So think about it for yourself. Because one of the issues that you run into is you make a decision and you get in this 30-year note, and you're paying for this thing for 30 years, and you're really barely paying this thing off. I mean, like, $800 of your $900 payment is going straight to the bank, and they're making money on that interest. And $100 is paying off principal. But one of the issues that we run into is we have this concept called seasons. And so just like someone who gets into the car buying cycle where they're always tied to the payment, if you're always tied to your house payment, then that creates this constant cash flow drain. Imagine right now, for a minute, you did not have a house payment, a car payment, any other payment. How much money do you need to live? Honestly, think about that. How much do you actually need to live if you had no payments or no debt? You're probably going to find out it's pretty low. So, I am right around $24,000. So without any debt payments or without any really crazy stuff that I don't really need, $24,000 would maintain my standard of living and I'd be perfectly fine. So if $24,000 would make me perfectly happy and I'd be fine, how hard is it for me to get a job that pays me $24,000 a year? You know, I mean, that'd be pretty easy to do. I know it's got to be a little higher from taxes, so $32,000 a year. I can find a job that pays me $32,000 a year without a problem. So if I only need $32,000 a year to live, then think of all the ways that this changes my life. Do I have to be stressed out at work? No, because what happens if I lose my job? I can find something within a month that pays me $32,000 a year. Yes, I got an emergency fund too, but I'm not going to have a problem finding $32,000 a year. Maybe your number's, $20,000 a year. Great. Then you can find something for $20,000 a year. And I'm not saying this is what you want, but it gives you so much freedom to not be locked into a situation, regardless of what that situation is. If you work somewhere, I'm very fortunate to work at a place that I really like, and that follows ethics to a T and doesn't do anything that I would ever consider questionable. But say, for example, you work for a company where they start doing something unethical. Are you tied to that job because you don't know how to survive without it? Right? That's the kind of thing you've got to worry about. Or what if you get this great opportunity to start your own business, but you can't do that because you don't know how to go a few months without that high payment that you get right now because you got all these expenses. And so there's this concept called seasons that I know Rory Vaden talks about a lot, but a lot of other people do as well. This concept of seasons. Essentially, your life is always changing. And because life is always changing, there's times in your life where different things are important and you have to do different things. If you just have a child, you're going through a season where, yes, you're going to be up in the middle of the night. And you're going to have seasons where you're going to have to do, catch up because you forgot to work out for 5 years and now you got to get back in the cycle of things. You're going to have seasons where you're going to try a new project, or seasons where you're going to have new life challenges. And these kind of things are always going to happen in your life. You've always got these seasons. It's never going to be constant. It's never going to be solid. The problem with the mortgage situation is you're making a decision today about your mortgage situation, right? You're making a decision right now that, hey, for 30 years, I'm going to be 100% satisfied paying $1,000, $2,000, $1,500, whatever it is to your mortgage, right? You're making a decision right now and assuming that never for the next 30 years are you going to have a concern with that amount of money just popping out of your account each month. The reason why I think this is a huge issue that people don't recognize enough is because there's going to be so many times in your life where that constant payment or the debt load is going to prevent you from taking advantage of real opportunities. I'm going to sit there and say 7%, who cares? Right? You're so worried about playing a spread on getting 7% and borrowing at 3.5%. How about the 500% opportunity or the 250% opportunity that you can't take, or the $1 billion opportunity, or the pursue your dreams opportunity, right? These are the kind of things that are more important in life than 7% to 3.5%. If you're playing the spread and you're getting 7% of your money and you borrowed at 3.5%, after taxes and everything, you're making like 2%. Seriously, 2% of your money, that is worth all the hassle and all the time? It's not. There's going to be opportunities that for more than 7%, and you're going to miss them because you're so worried about making that stupid 2%. I know 7% sounds great, but 2% is not impressive. It's not. It might seem impressive right now. It might even seem like it conflicts with what I talk about, where you want to, work slowly and not try to look at for the big gains. We're not talking about some high risk venture here. We're talking about taking advantage of small opportunities, a job opportunity, a local investment opportunity, a business opportunity for yourself to pursue something that excites you. These are the kind of things we're talking about. And you might not think those are ever going to hit you. You might not think you have those opportunities. But I know people who play the spread, who have $1 million, and then they can't take this awesome opportunity that presents itself in front of them because they're locked into this spread mentality. Again, theoretically, I'm not opposed to people playing some sort of leverage, some sort of spread. I get the soundness. But when you think about the mortgage, you are making a 30-year commitment to never take advantage of a cool opportunity that crosses your path. right? And I can just about guarantee you 15 years later, you're going to think of a cooler way that you could spend that $1,500 that month. And it might not be a money game. I mean, it might be a cool vacation opportunity. I mean, think about what can you do for $1,500? That's a vacation. It's like a vacation a month. And so one of the problems, again, it's the cash flow out and locking you into this payment mentality. Is locking you in to, I need to make sure I have that money this month to pay my bills. That is dangerous. Just like it's dangerous in cars. And for some reason, most people I know have no problem accepting that it's a bad decision to be locked in payments on a car. And yet when it comes to a house, they just assume everybody does it, or that you have to do it, or that it's a smart play. Even with the interest rate games, a car interest rate is 1.75%. Sometimes you get 0%. Although a lot of times the 0% has more hooks than it makes it worth. You get 1.75% a car, but that you can finally accept that that's not a good decision. But 3.5% in a house, oh, gotta do it. Gotta take advantage of that 3.5%. I'm gonna play the spread. Yeah, 3.5% is cheap money. Cheap money. Gotta borrow money when it's cheap. Your house isn't making you money, right? Can you accept that? Your house is not making you money? If you're borrowing for a rental, it makes a little more sense. If you're borrowing to build a factory for your corporation, that makes a little more sense. But you're borrowing money to live in. It doesn't generate anything for you. It's a drain on you, right? And you know what's going to catch you in 5-10 years after you live in your house? Oh, you got to pay $10,000 for new windows. Oh, you got to spend $5,000 for a new fence. Things are going to happen in life to your house, to you personally, both negative and positive. And so don't sit here right now and just think one of these things. Do not think everybody gets a mortgage. They don't. And a whole lot of them don't get 30 years. Okay. What about 10 or 15 years? And even then, why not pay it off early? Pay it off early to give you more freedom, because you have the freedom to take advantage of opportunities. I've heard of a lot of wealthy individuals talk about their war chest. And their war chest is a bunch of money that they've saved up to take advantage of opportunities when they cross it. You've got war chest in savings, but you also have war chest in cash flow, right? And what I mean by that is the buffer in your cash flow needs. Because when you can afford to take advantage of opportunities, not just because you have enough money saved up, but because you're not freaking out about making your payments this month. Think about that. Doesn't that sound like somebody who's broke? Think about that with your mortgage. What do broke people say? Broke people are like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make my payments this month. I'm freaking out. Then I hear people with a house say, well, you know, I really want to take advantage of that opportunity. That's my dream. But I can't do it because how am I going to pay my bill? And I kind of chuckle. I'm like, yeah, who do you sound like right now? Listen to yourself. So I know that might sound brutal, but I think way too often we just accept that everybody else does it, so I have to. Everybody else, they don't. And so I want you to realize that not everybody carries a mortgage, and not everybody that's intelligent tries to play the spread on the mortgage. Right? When you get rid of that mortgage, it's freedom. And it's not, freedom is very hard to quantify. But I can tell you right now, when you are worried about making payments and you are tied to a certain role, a job, a position, something like that, because you have payments, you are not open to opportunities. And the worst thing about opportunities is you can't force them. You can't force an opportunity to say, on Tuesday, I'm going to have an opportunity. On the contrary, opportunities are going to surprise you. And what's very important is that you are in a position to take advantage of opportunities when they cross your path. And again, it's not always financial. It might be, hey, here's a chance to take the trip that we've always dreamed of. If you don't have that cash flow needs, then you can take advantage of that trip. Because the money's, it's not about how much do you have in net worth. I know net worth is important. That's how I measure. And I think most others measure. Net worth's important. But so is the monthly free cash flow and minimizing the monthly expense number, because that creates the real-time, real-world place to take advantage of things. Right? Again, imagine for a minute. If you had $0 of expenses today, we're going to go to the extreme. $0 of expenses today. What would you have to worry about? Right? Yeah, you got to worry about your family, you got to worry about your health, but what do you have to worry about? What's tying you to your job? What's tying you to your current position if you had zero in expenses? When we express that and we think about this, what would it be like if I had zero expenses? Then you're going to realize that even though you can't get to zero expenses, getting closer to zero expenses really frees your mind. It frees you to those opportunities. It frees you in general from worry, from stress, and it frees you to take advantage of really cool things. Really cool things. So, my takeaway here really is that it kind of bothers me how so many people think the smart thing to do is to get a mortgage and play that spread. Other people just get a mortgage because that's what everyone else does. Stop that mentality. Really think it through. Think through your life and think through your strategy. Because I hear people saying all other places, why are you getting a college degree? It's going to open me up to more opportunities. What opportunity? I don't know. Okay. Can't you use the same thought process with a mortgage? What's a mortgage? Getting rid of a mortgage to do? Free up to opportunities, right? Do you know what the opportunity is yet? No. But at some point, you got to accept that opportunities are going to cross your path regularly. And you're going to want to be able to take advantage of those opportunities when they do cross your path. And so that's one of the cool things about that. So again, that's what I want you to really think about. Really sit there and think. Do you have a mortgage because you really want a mortgage? Honestly, right? Do you sit there and say, okay, if I had my house paid off and zero expenses, I would go out there tomorrow and get a mortgage because I want a mortgage? If that sounds silly to you, then rethink about how you're approaching your mortgage situation. Maybe the answer is go ahead and take advantage of interest rates and refinance to a 15-year and get that paid off quicker. Or double up your payments to get it done quicker. And yes, does that create a short-term cash flow struggle? I don't want to say struggle, but it's a great way, in my opinion, to use your cash flow because you don't know what those opportunities are going to be in the future, right? If you knew what they were going to be, you could start saving specifically for those right now. And if you truly are playing the spread, there's something there, right? If you can cash out today and pay your house off today, then you're probably okay. But the vast majority, I have no stats to back this up, but I'm going to guess 99% of people who are playing the spread and have a mortgage because it's smart couldn't pay the mortgage off today if they had to. So ask yourself, can you pay your mortgage off right now? Can you pay it off today? If not, you're not playing the spread. You're just pretending to. Probably have a house more expensive than it should be. Probably, decided you wanted a better school district or the bigger house, and therefore you borrowed a lot more than you could afford. I'm guessing that's what happened with you. That's what happens to a lot of people. So, anyway, I know I can't solve world hunger in 5 minutes, but one of the most important things you can do in life, and in general, is just question common sense. The first thing that I kind of made a mark on was my take on cars and how everyone was amazed that I was turning a profit every time I bought a car. And they sat there and said, you can't do that. Cars are a depreciating asset. And I'd sit there and say, what do you mean it's a depreciating asset? If it's a depreciating asset, how do I make money on it? How come my cars appreciate in value? And most people are like, oh, well, you're just lucky. Oh, really? I'm lucky. Over 20, 30 years and 75 cars, I've just all been luck. All luck. It's not luck, right? It's challenging conventional wisdom. It's amazing how much conventional wisdom lies to us. And just because your neighbor does it doesn't mean you should do it. Just because your parents do it doesn't mean you should do it. I want you to really take the time to question conventional wisdom in all areas. And the home mortgage is one of those, right? Your banker's not your friend. I like bankers, nothing wrong with bankers. Maybe you have a friend that's a banker, but in that transaction, they're making money off of you. Think about it. Why are they giving you the loan? Are they giving you the loan because it makes them feel good inside? Is it a social program? Maybe if your parents are giving you a loan, it's a social program to help you out. But a bank doesn't give you a loan for a social program. They're giving you the loan because they believe that the risk warrants the return. Think about that, right? They're making money on you. So of course they're going to tell you it's the right thing to do. So question yourself. All right. I went on a little too long about that, but I really do want you to think about that. I think that, I have such a hard time proving that model, that mortgage. But again, most of the people I know who are incredibly wealthy, they're not spending the money on the mortgage every month. They pay it off. And if you look at some of the really wealthy financial leaders out there, they'll tell you the same thing, to pay the house off. And it's frustrating because it's really hard to articulate why it's so important to pay off the house. But again, so many people don't. But I think that's just because they're rationalizing their interest and buying more than they can afford, and they're rationalizing their interest not to pay it off. Right? They're like, hey, well, I don't want to pay it off. I want to live in a house I can't afford. I want to live in a house that I didn't pay for. So don't let that be you, because we want you to be successful. All right. I really appreciate you tuning in today and listening. I know it's been a little while since I posted anything up. Life is crazy. But the good news about this is, none of these posts are meant to be overly timely. They're more conceptual. And just like, a class, honestly, I can teach a class for several years and make very minor changes to them. Same thing's going to be true here. What we're talking about isn't going to change tomorrow. It's not going to change next month. Interest rates might. But thinking about these topics does not. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Now go out there and make the impossible happen. Learn more at MillionaireWho.com.
It's the morning drive.